My dear, and welcome to your first message for the month of December to help you move through this somewhat hectic season. And I will say, if it isn't hectic to you, but you still love appreciating um, a message that might support you in grounding yourself and anchoring yourself as you move through this time. That can be true too. I just say it's hectic because time seems to move at a different pace during this month, no matter what you celebrate, no matter what you do. And I think there's a lot of factors of that. Clearly, the delineated holidays, but I also think it's the end of the year. And so, um, just reminding you intuitively tune into whatever language best suits for however you're navigating this time and space and take these messages, um, and apply them to whatever moment you may be in. It may not be the hectic season, it may just be you closing the year. And so that gets to be true here for different folks, in the Truly Yours Collective. And so, today, I am going to provide the first message I'm receiving. And just so you all know, my messages come channeled from the Akasha, and I can give a link as to what that is, but it's like the soul's records. And so I tune in with my guides and I ask specifically what are the messages that the community of people that I'm here to support most need to hear at this moment in time. And so, if you see me look far off into different spaces, it's like me tuning in and feeling into it. And so, if you have never received a reading from me or seen me in this particular way, then it might be different slash surprising. But I hope as we go through our few messages in December, you'll begin to adjust to the way that I deliver the messages. Please note that whatever I may transmit through the message is may or may not be uh so delineated in the physical realm. Like some people really want to believe like a certain image or a certain animal and like it's for real. And sometimes I believe the messages are just the messages. For some people, it's like, oh no, that particular thing you mentioned is for me and I hear it. And for other people, it's just like, oh, maybe it's like the metaphorical meaning of what that is. And so allow yourself to be open to both as we move through these messages in December. So here we go. Um, one of the big title for this message that they gave me the moment I entered was enough is enough. And so they're saying enough is enough because there's a way in which this time of year should be magical, not just because of the holidays, but as you consider the closing of the year and reflecting on it. And sometimes it begins to lose its magic because we show up to do so much and to prove so much and to ensure it closes out in a certain way and to ensure that celebrations and rituals go a certain way that we kind of lose out on the magic. And what they're reminding us is that enough is always enough. And the vision that always comes in is like there's like a flower and the flower has a certain magic and it has all these like sparkling pixie dust above it. And they're saying right now people lose sight of the pixie dust and to sh the color begins to fade and the pixie dust is gone because we lose the real reason why we decided to take up whatever we decided to take up this month, because we're just busy trying to figure out if what we're doing is enough, if how we're showing up is enough, if all the ways and the things that we want to unfold um will be always more than enough. And so the reminder is that like as long as you've shown up, you've given in a way that feels good to you, you've allowed yourself to receive, then like can you allow yourself the magic of being present with whatever all of that um reveals to you. They're also saying that because in our greater world, right? Um, they say enough is enough, as it's correlated to our capitalistic ideas of production and also the ideas that we have about self-care, right? That sometimes we imagine what we're doing isn't enough because it may not feel good, but also because the structures around us demanded that it look and be a certain way. And so in this week, they're asking us to consider what does it mean to know and walk in the knowledge that you're always doing and being enough. What if that was like the place from which you decided to move forward in? And they said too, there's this other connection, and they're telling me that it'll all come together eventually, but they're saying that there's a calling to help us divest self-care from the capitalistic production machine and patriarchy, right? And that there's this idea behind self-care that if and it's like sort of in the tendrils of like our society, right? Like if we take time for ourselves, like the self being something that is selfish, right? And so based on your cultural upbringing, like there are other things and tenets that are connected to this idea of like tending to oneself means that it comes at the sacrifice of someone else, of something else, of the world around us. And they're saying like that's garbage. Because if we divest from this idea of self-care as produced by the great capitalistic machine and patriarchy, we come back to the idea, right, that if we're all connected and we're all one, then the care of myself means that it's inevitable. Like the care of me, like literally reverberates and creates care for the collective, right? Because once I tend to myself, it's inevitable that changes and shifts the field in which I'm in with the group of people that I'm in, right? Um, and so they're sharing that there often is this idea that there's this separation, that what's good for me can't also be good for you. But if we divest from this idea, then we arrive at this different place to consider, oh, like what if what's good for me is always good for others? Not because I come from the frame of mind of like, oh, self-care is gonna help me be of service to others, right? Like, um, I think they're like they show me this image and like this bag, and they're like, that's like garbage, right? The idea is not that you take care of yourself so you can take care of others. No, because if we divest from these notions of care as created by the capitalistic production machine that sees it as a way of making money, right? Then what do we know? We know that it's never about, oh, what I do then does this. It's always just like, uh, it's hard for me to put into words like a knowing that feels so strong. It's like, it's inevitable that like the care of one person is always going to match the care to the collective care of the world, right? Because once we begin to tune in and honor the needs of our bodies, we can actually be open and finally be replenished enough to be situated in the spaces and with the people that we know we're supposed to be with, right? And if that's the case, then it's not that I do this for that, right? Because that's also very like capitalistic like, and it's not reciprocal. It's not like a an ongoing reciprocal nature that's like consistent, right? But if you think about the earth and you think about other ways of being, it's not like tit for tat. It's always like a consistent circular distribution of gifts, of care, of well-being, right? Um, and so that it's not being counted, and so that it's not being rationalized as something that's like, oh yeah, like I do this so that I can do this. It's like, no, you do it because it inevitably shapes everything for the better, right? It also allows you to be of service in the highest way possible because you're not actually connecting it to a particular way of service. But if you just exist in a way of like, I'm tending to this, and this is what allows me to show up in the world, then the way that you're meant to be of service will always show up. It doesn't have to be, I do this so that I can be replenished, so that I can then serve people for this holiday or at this time of year. It's like, well, no, you do it because it's going to allow you to enjoy the holiday, which then changes the atmosphere in the room and changes the energy so that no matter what, everybody gets to enjoy it. So that like your joy is actually inextricably tied to the joy of others because it continues to give and it's reciprocal. Hmm. And so that's why they're saying enough is enough with these ideas that tie us to like, we do this in order to accomplish this. It's like, what if we just do this because this already has more than enough value as it is? And if we accept and believe that we are inextricably tied to people, the earth, and other spaces, then the way that we tend to ourselves, like, will literally shift and change the different places that we navigate. And they're saying it's not going to be easy to necessarily like um see this immediately, right? Like, because I think, well, everybody's tied to this idea, right? Based on where you live in the world, based on your ideas, based on your cultural upbringing, based on your ways of being. And there are others who actually have the belief that I'm saying that it's like connected, right? Even though for you it may not be. So when you show up differently, you can't show up and assume like, everybody's going to be okay with that, right? They're showing me like different scenes and moments in my life where it's like I had to show up and just tend to myself, and people didn't like it. They don't always love it in the beginning because they don't see the benefit that it gives them, right? But it's not your job to show that to them. So they're telling me like, don't go into that tirade either of like, oh, I must show them how this benefits them, that I get to do this thing for myself. Like once you've gone down that rabbit hole, like we're going down the wrong path. They're asking you to take the courage to walk your own path for a little while and allow this to be an opening that leaves an impact on others that you will never understand. And you don't need to, because they're saying that's the magic of the connection that you have with people in your life, is that you're there to spark things in each other and mirror things to be able to allow yourselves to continue growing and healing other things. And so they're saying, but it has to be done. They're saying, like, but it has to be done for a certain amount of time. Don't do it just once and imagine that it'll somehow change everything around you. You have to be committed to it for a period of time because people need to see you in that commitment, and they need to see what you're honoring in order for them to fully understand that. And they also need to be around you more than just once, right? And so they're telling you, like, this is just the beginning. And for right now, they're like, enough is enough. And they're saying you'll be really surprised when you accept that as a tenet and you believe in your hearts of all hearts, that whatever you do for yourself literally changes the collective in ways that you can't imagine. So if you come from that space, they're saying, how can you anchor into your own gifts and the very simple ways in which people long to be seen or heard or appreciated by you, and follow that sort of like path of ease as you move through this month and through this time? Because enough is enough, and it's always enough. And they're saying you're always enough. And that sometimes when we anchor into the simplest things that are part of just our way of being, that are our natural gifts, that those come across so replenishing and so loving to others, versus when we're like pushing and constructing and creating and making things just so, it can be exhausting. And it can also then be really hard for you to receive, even at this time. And so that's the message for today. Let me know. You can hit reply to the email. Um, what landed for you, what resonated for you, um, and what spoke to you in your approach this last month of the year. Um, let's keep the conversation going, and I'll see you next week.